Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. So here's what's going on today. Today I'm going to be talking through my March TBR, my to be read pile for March. But something interesting has really happened in March here in the Booktube community. The Booktube community has exploded with events and read-alongs and so much fun going on in our little Booktube community. I had considered titling this video, "In a Reading Slump? Join an event," because events are such a great way to help you become a little bit more adventurous in your reading. They help me kind of set my mind on a different way to look at my bookshelves. And the best and most fun thing about a TBR, in my opinion, is taking the lens that someone else has created and using that lens to look at all of your bookshelves and think through what you would actually read if that was the event that you were going to participate in. But since I have a better grasp of how much time I have in any given month, how many books I can finish in any given month, I know that I can't participate in all of the events. I'm going to talk you through my actual TBR, and I'm going to have a little addendum. It's going to be the phrase, "If I had a million hours to read, I would also pick up this." So if I had the extra time, I would read this, but I'm not officially adding it to my TBR. It's mostly doing that fun thing of thinking through my TBR with all of you, my fantasy TBR, my "if I had a million hours to read in March TBR, this is what I would pick up." I will tell you, this is actually on my to be read list for March versus this is what I would pick up if I had just way more time than I actually do. So I hope that made sense. And mostly I'm just trying to talk through really cool events that we're doing here in the Booktube community. The first Booktube community announcement I wanted to make sure that I made was that this is our last month of doing the Eclectic Book Club. The Eclectic Book Club is a book club that I run here on Booktube with David Wiley, who is a wonderful Booktube creator and just a wonderful person. And we have been running the book club for 4 months. We knew at the beginning that we didn't want to continue it on for forever, that we wanted to reevaluate sometime in February when Booktube Prize reading really kicked off. And now that it's here, now that Booktube Prize season is here, we've made the decision that we don't want to continue with running this book club. And so we're going to say goodbye to the book club. So thank you everybody who has participated and supported, whether it be in conversations and watching our videos, in cheering all of us on in reading the ancient Greeks, reading Fahrenheit 451, and continuing to reading Steinbeck this month. So it's been a really wonderful experience, but February is going to be our last month with any official picks or any officialness when it comes to the Eclectic Book Club. Before I get into chatting through all of the events, I want to say that everybody and everything will be linked down below. So if you actually are in a reading slump, the description box and all of the videos and everything down there is going to really help you understand what these events are about and really generate some excitement about your bookshelves and the books that are on them. So the first event that I want to talk about is going to be the event that I've known about the longest, and that is March of the Mammoths. The whole idea behind March of the Mammoths is that you pick up a book that is 800 pages or longer and you start it in March. There is no pressure, there is no rule that says you need to finish the book in March, but it is an encouragement to pick up that mammoth that has been staring you down in March and kind of get that ball rolling with the book. This is the the event is the brainchild of Jason from Old Blues Chapters and Verse, and he has a couple of co-hosts. So Lukas from A Cruel Reader's Thesis and Al from Big Al Books. So these three are going to be hosting. I would, very much encourage you to check out their channels down below. And what am I going to be reading for March of the Mammoths? I am going to be reading War and Peace. There's a couple of groups reading War and Peace throughout the Booktube community. The two groups that I have my eyes on are Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot. Her book club group is going to be reading this trying to read this over the course of a month. That's the group that I'm going to be officially reading War and Peace with, Sandy's group. I will link her down below. She's got an amazing channel. Please follow her. There's also another group, Hannah from Hannah's Books, and Una and Crypto from the Codex Cantina guys. They are also going to be reading War and Peace, but doing it at a bit of a slower pace. They're going to be reading it over the course of 3 months. I mentioned these two groups because they're starting on the same day. They're starting on March 1st. And so if you have War and Peace on your shelf and you're like, I have been meaning to read War and Peace forever, and I need that little motivation to pick it up, this is your motivation. Read it with us, please, please. Leo Tolstoy in his Mammoth novel. My copy runs at 1,399 pages. How dissatisfying. Why couldn't it have been 1,400 pages even? Okay, so March of the Mammoths is what I am going to be reading, and I am really excited about that. I would highly encourage all of you to come and join us. I'm not doing any type of leading with this event, but I know that I will be in the trenches and reading Leo Tolstoy with everyone else. I'll also link a couple of videos down below that I found particularly helpful. The 2 videos I'm going to be linking are from Hannah from Hannah's Books. She did a wonderful video just talking about a whole bunch of different resources for War and Peace, along with a couple of translations. And then Jack from Spread Book Joy also mentioned War and Peace and her reading experience. It's a spoiler-free chat about her reading experience, as she has now hit the halfway point in War and Peace. Now, if I had 1,000,000 hours to read in March, I would also pick up Duck's Newburyport by Lucy Ellman. When I spoke about this when I hauled it a couple of weeks ago, the amount of excitement and outpouring of support for this novel was huge. And so I would actually, if I was only going to participate in March of the Mammoths, if I had 1,000,000 hours to read, I would also pick up Duck's Newburyport. The next event that caught my eye was Herstoryathon, or Herstoryathon. It's a history readathon that focuses on women in history. You can choose historical fiction novels about somebody or about a female that actually lived in history, or you can read true accounts of females living in history and doing extraordinary things. This is the brainchild of Brittany from Literarily Smitten and Charlotte from Queenie Reads. I will link their channels down below. They have some really cool graphics going on with their read-along, and I actually have a handful of books that will fit with this readathon. I actually have 3 books that I would love to read for the Herstoryathon. There are 9 prompts, and the 3 books that I have are connected with the Booktube prize. They're my assigned reading for the Booktube prize, and they happen to fit with the prompts for the Herstoryathon. And so the 3 that I would match these books up with, now mind you, I may not actually read them all in March. I might actually pick up these books in February, because this reading, my Booktube prize reading, has a deadline. But as we are mixing fantasy with reality, if I had 1,000,000 hours to read in March, I would pick up all 3 of these books in March. Now, they will all be done before March. I just don't know if I will get to them before March actually begins, or after, we're well into the month. I'm really not sure. So the prompts that I would match these books up with, the first one would be read a book about underrepresented women. So I would read The Doctor's Blackwell. I'm going to be reading it anyways for the Booktube prize. This is about 2 sisters who worked in the medical industry in the middle of the 1800s, and they actually helped found a hospital that was fully staffed by women. I think women in the medical field is not something that I've personally read a lot about. I've read about Florence Nightingale, and then that's where my reading has stopped. So perhaps this prompt is more individual to me, as in I haven't read very much about women in the medical field, so underrepresented for my reading catalog. The next book I would read would be Ghost in the Throat by Dorian Niguriofa. So this would match the prompt of read a book about a woman you've never heard of before. I have not heard of Dorian Niguriofa, even though she has apparently written quite a few poetry books. This is going to be a book that is part memoir, part poetry analysis, and the author's ruminations about a poem, an Irish poem written in the 18th century. So an interesting concept. I have no idea because I have not read anything about the book or the book itself. I've just read the inside flaps. But definitely would match the prompt of read about a woman you've never heard of before. Not heard of the author, and I don't know anything about the poem she discusses. The final book would be prompt 8, which is read a book about women in science. And I would read, though I probably will pick this up a little bit sooner than March, The Code Breaker, which is by Walter Isaacson, and it is about Jennifer Doudna, who does a lot with gene editing. Now, I can't really talk very eloquently about that because I don't know much about the science of it, but I am trusting Walter Isaacson to explain it all to me, and I hope to get very into Jennifer Doudna. But yeah, she definitely is somebody a woman who works in science, and that is, gosh, the glare is awful on this. I'm getting distracted, and that would definitely match that prompt. The next readathon that really fits with me and my channel, but the timing is just awful because it has to do with March of the Mammoths. It's going on alongside all of these other events, and that would be middle grade March. So the hosts are Krista, Katie, and Amanda. I will link them all below. These ladies have put on this event for quite a long time. It's a long-standing event, to my knowledge, here in the Booktube community. And we are encouraged to read books that are in that middle grade range. And the way that they described it was books for ages about 8 to 14, which is a wonderful parameter. I really needed someone to help me define that. So books for ages 8 to 14. They have several prompts, and I don't know if I will read anything for middle grade March, even though I really, really want to. But if I had 1,000,000 hours to read, I would definitely follow along with their group read along, Pony by R.J. Palacio. I might actually try and read it, but I don't know about time-wise if that's very wise for me. If I had 1,000,000 hours to read, though, this is what I would pick up. I would pick up Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I would pick up A Wizard of Earthsea, the first book in the Earthsea trilogy by Ursula K. Le Guin. I would also pick up Esperanza Rising, which I just got from a little free library, which is written by Pam Muniz Ryan. I would pick up these following 4 books. So Charlotte's Web by E.B. White, Number the Stars by Lois Lowry, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, and The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne. I would read all of those if I had 1,000,000 hours because I love middle grade books. I just don't love the timing right now, but if I had 1,000,000 hours, I would read all those books, and I would be the biggest cheerleader for middle grade March. Now I'm really wondering if I should just participate in middle grade March. No, I've already made plans. I already have plans, y'all. I already have plans. The final event we're going to be talking about is March Mystery Madness. The video I watched, even though there are a whole bunch of hosts, and I will do my best to link them all. The video I watched was from Jen at Remembered Reads, and she announced the theme of March Mystery Madness as 2 by 2. The way I would interpret 2 by 2 is reading 2 mystery books out of all the mystery books I own, and I only own 3 mystery books, like true mystery books that I could tell. Yeah, I only own 3. I'm not much of a mystery reader, but it sounded so much fun, and there are so many mystery readers here on Booktube that I want to join. But alas, I don't think I'm actually going to join March Mystery Madness, even though my heart really, really wants to. My the logical side of my brain, knowing how much time I have, I don't think I'll actually have time for March Mystery Madness. But if I were, I would read 2 of my mystery books. I'm gonna grab them. I'm not joking when I say that I don't read mysteries and I don't buy mysteries. It's a genre that I just haven't ever quite gotten into. Even as a little girl, I never read Nancy Drew. I didn't really enjoy the Boxcar Children. I loved the first book because it was all about the backstory of the Boxcar Children. But yeah, so I'm not much of a mystery reader, but March Mystery Madness sounds like so much fun. Okay, and out of the 3 books, I would choose 2 of them depending on probably my mood, because I'm a big mood reader. But the 3 mysteries that I own are Disillusion by C.J. Sansom, which is a Tudor mystery, a mystery set in Tudor times. It's a Matthew Shardlake series, I believe. The next mystery that I own is The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie by Alan Bradley. This is about a young sleuth, Flava de Luce, who I believe is like 8 or 9 years old, and she's very smart and way beyond her years, but still has that childlike innocence to her, which I have always been charmed by the idea, and I would love to get to this. And then the final book is Elizabeth George, A Great Deliverance, which is, again, a true mystery. I don't own very true mystery books, but I would, you know, choose this or one of the other 2 books for my March Mystery Madness if I was reading for March Mystery Madness. But alas, I am not. Let's just sum up. I know I talked about quite a bit of books, and thank you for letting me just ramble on about the books that are on my mind. But here's what I'm actually going to be reading between now and the end of March. I'm going to be reading Codebreaker by Walter Isaacson. I'm going to be reading Ghost in the Throat by Dorian Nigiriofa. And I'm going to be reading The Doctor's Blackwell by Janice P. Nimura. And for March of the Mammoths, officially, I'm going to be reading War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, or at least starting it in March. That's it for me. Thank you for letting me just chat through all of the books that I have on my mind, and knowing that I probably won't be able to get to, actually not probably, I know I won't be able to get to all of these books because I do not have a million hours to spare in my life to read all of these books. Not that they would take a million hours, but the hyperbole is there, right? You all understand what I'm talking about. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you know what you're reading for March, let me know. What are you all deciding to participate in? Not that I need any more events to tempt me, but I'm genuinely curious. So from me to you, what are you reading in March? Do you know? Are you just gonna mood read? Are you joining an event? Please let me know. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye guys.